Bonusly is a platform with over 2,000 companies have donated over $1 million to charity.
This is From Paint to Purpose, a podcast by FCP Services, where we believe people drive growth, exploring topics related to company culture, leadership, and construction industry insights. Now your host.
Welcome everybody. I am your host, Yahaira Vargas, and today we are going to have Amber Redig from Bonusly. Hi Amber, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
Pretty good. I'm super excited for this podcast. I am a true fan of Bonusly and, recognition programs.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to get into it and talk about it.
So, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm from Minnesota, and I moved out to Seattle about 10 years ago, but maybe you'll hear that accent pull through it all. And I really love the area as well. But basically what happened in regards to Bonusly was while working at a law office previously, my partner forwarded me a job posting on AngelList, which is for startups, and I applied because I was pretty intrigued about the concept, and everything just sort of clicked and made sense of, all right, this is my next step, and this is what I'm going to do. So, yeah.
Tell me about that journey.
Well, employee recognition wasn't really something I had thought about, I guess, in the depth that I have to this day now, before coming here. And my idea of what work experience and recognition should look like, I think, was quite different than, I don't know what was true, but also I would like to say that, just because I had one assumption, I still didn't really know what was out there. So I was like, this is not what I've thought about before, but I really don't know what could be possible in regards to recognition at a workplace. All I knew was that at different jobs, I did appreciate that more formalized structure of recognition and giving that critique on ways to improve at your job. But also, you need to pair that with a sense of connection and of appreciation for the person and the hard work that they're putting into it as well. So being at a law office, which has a very different kind of recognition structure, and it's mostly monetary based, it was interesting to come to Bonusly and see what recognition could be. And I've just continued to be impressed by what it has helped companies produce.
So tell me about Bonusly.
Yeah, sure. So Bonusly is a fun and easy to use recognition and rewards platform. So we help with employee engagement and connectivity at the organization. And we do that by allowing everyone to have a certain amount of points per month. And the only thing you can do with those points is give them to others that you work with and say thank you. Recognize their great work that tie back to your company core values, that tie back to what you're currently producing and what you're contributing towards to help your business be a success. So it also helps because it's visible and everyone is connected, and you have that shared space where everyone can come together, celebrate those wins, and then have, of course, the recognition tied to it. So as you are receiving points from others and giving out each month, you're earning them up, and then you can redeem for a gift card or an experience if that's what your company offers. So you're really able to choose what's going to be the most valuable for you and the most tangible option for how you want to spend your points. Yeah. And I've done fun stuff with my points too.
I know you said part of it was swag, right? Bonusly swag for your dog.
Yes, and I use Bonusly to help pay for my dog. And that's a really fun story that's not even unique to me, even in my department. The recognition of my coworkers helped bring this adorable, fluffy, opinionated coworker into my life who we hopefully don't hear today, but maybe we will.
So what is the company culture at Bonusly, and how do you relate to it? I know you said you really bought into the recognition and the difference between that recognition and the monetary one.
Mm-hmm. Well, and to clarify, like the recognition or the milestones or encouragement in the law office was based mostly or primarily on the monetary value associated with, did you bring someone new into the office? We're going to give you a bonus for that if they come into the office, that kind of thing,
Right.
which is a perfectly standard and fine structure.
Right.
Where Bonusly takes it above and beyond is that they are empowering users all employees really to say thank you to each other and to have those connections, and are invested in allowing that transparency and that appreciation to be shared. The more visibility you have into how you're helping your company produce whatever that might be, the more encouraged people are by it. Um, and I apologize. Do you mind reiterating your question one more time? I think I got a little off track there.
No worries. What is the mission? That was pretty much the overall question of it. What is Bonusly's
Gotcha.
company mission?
Yeah, it's to build a sense of purpose and progress at work. Yeah, and I think also celebrating the many opportunities we have to say thank you, and everyone's hard work.
How do you relate to that?
Uh, so I've always had like found purpose personally in helping others, and I find joy in that, and that is something that motivates me, and it's what I want to put out into the world too. So working at Bonusly fits that very well. In some ways, it's very high level. I am helping companies bring recognition to their workplace, but it's helping everyone sort of have a better workday at the end of the day. And if that's something that I can positively contribute while doing what I love with a team that I love, that's awesome. And I'm very appreciative of it. Yeah.
Why is it important to have a recognition program or some kind of incentive for your employees?
Yeah, great question. So, one of the main things is that you're going to be able to help increase productivity and decrease turnover. When you put these connections in place, you're allowing just more buy-in from your employees, more engagement possibilities, and that's something that they usually want. And that's what I say we, but I would say any HR person doing a poll of, what do you want? It's usually we want to be heard more, we want to be involved in this process more. And I think that that's a really strong way of empowering your whole organization and further your productivity. Every year, Bonusly runs a survey to see, how are people feeling and are they feeling engaged to their work? And I think the stat is like something like 88% of highly engaged workers are like regularly shown how their work contributes to the purpose of their organization, whereas it's a lower number. I mean, I apologize. I don't have it off the top of my head. Is nope, it's right here. I have notes. Yes, is 73. That's what it was. I wanted to make sure I had my numbers right for you. 37, not 73. 37 are actively disengaged employees. Like, don't feel that same connection. I feel like I did a bad job of answering that, but it is what it is.
No worries.
Yeah.
Why do you think employees get disengaged when not being shown? I guess that would.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does. Well, just we're humans. We like connection and we like to be connected. And, at the end of the day, we are all at our jobs because we need to make money. But hopefully, we're also able to strive for personal satisfaction out of what we are contributing to the world or to our business. And, that is what you put a lot of your day to day in. So, what would you rather? Would you rather have a situation where you're more isolated, especially with remote work these days, more focused just on what you need to do and not really having that connection with your team versus being able to see what everyone is working on in your organization, celebrate that with them. You can add on or comment or put a fun GIF in there. It's a social tool too. And have that ability to make those connections, to see the bigger picture, to see how everything that you're working on together is working towards this ultimate company goal, and celebrating that along the way too. It's a lot of fun. I forgot to mention the gifts earlier. You can add gifts. It's so good.
What are some of the trends you're seeing that weren't happening before 2020, and more specifically about the Great Resignation? Do you think that is caused partially by employees feeling unappreciated?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think that we're at a point where more people are interested in providing and looking towards a more equitable, inclusive world. And responsibility as being a function of the role of people leaders has also been not put into question, but it has been like, all right, we need you to do this. We need you to step up more. There have been a lot of movements forward um, in being more purposeful and intent about what company policy values and goals are, both with their public facing and communications as well as internally. So if people think that when people think that their work matters, they're more likely to be engaged, learn faster, work harder, and feel more fulfilled in general. So how do you show employees that their work matters is you say thank you to them, and you also give them the ability to say thank you to each other. So yeah, if you think your work is going to matter, you're going to be engaged. That's going to be better for the company. Uh, Specifically in regards to the Great Resignation, I think it's because we've seen an adjustment of those values, and everyone is now acting on that correction that they may be making. So we want more and different things after being in a situation where we were solitary and yet so connected, with a lot of time to be thoughtful about what are they doing, what is hurting them in their life, what is making them happy in their life. So people are now looking for more money, more flexibility, and more happiness. The values have changed, and when you see a current job not fulfilling that role, then the question becomes of, should I look elsewhere?
Hmm.
And I think that's what we've seen with the Great Resignation. Yeah.
Have you seen a difference in companies that have a recognition program versus a company that doesn't?
Yes, one of our key metrics is how much we help with reducing turnover, as well as improving retention in general, because it's combined with providing that feedback and getting more connections in place with the team, as well as giving them the tools to recognize and be connected together.
What metrics do you use to measure that?
Specifically in the product, like on the analytics.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we take a look at participation rate, both for giving and receiving. And we put attributes in there, such as, your department or location or role, so we can get data to show how people are connecting and how they're not connecting, which can be a really great flag for ways that communication might be siloed, whether or not you meant it to be. So specifically thinking about participation, we want to see, how often each month an average user is recognized. How often are they giving? And then you can go from there and delve a little bit deeper into, do we want more connections between managers and individual contributors?
Hmm.
Do we want to see more connections between product and marketing? Wherever you might want to shine the light and take a look at what we could iterate on,
Hmm.
you're able to do that with all of that activity as well.
So, how can organizations look at those analytics? Like, I know on the platform it shows analytics for participation per department, per role, and then overall. If a
Mhm.
leader sees that and someone is siloed, what are ways they can do to increase that recognition with them?
Yeah. So this is fun, and this is what I like doing as part of my job is figuring out, how do we approach these topics. So there are a few different things that I would do. I would first start with the data in Bonusly. Do we have enough in regards, or not in regards to, but do we have enough to reflect your accurate company structure, so we can show you what these connections truly look like and how they're going to affect different workflows, just based on company structure. Next thing I would do is make sure we're touching base with the managers. Are your managers aware of how they're expected to use Bonusly and what best practices are around that? We have a manager digest and other tools to help them with utilizing Bonusly as a management tool. And something I would do is connect with them, or flag it to an admin to connect with them of, we're seeing lower participation rates or lower recognition rates here. Is there work that is being undervalued? Would it be beneficial to take a look at what we currently are giving recognition for, and if there's anything we want to add in a structured format?
Hmm.
Also, reaching out and getting direct feedback from the employee could be helpful. Do
Hmm.
they feel a blocker, or they're not quite sure, why they should take the time out of their day to put into recognition? Well, it's not taking time out of your day. It's building into your process the thank you. So helping them understand how this would be a benefit for them as well can help. So, and there's definitely more I have ideas on too.
What are some of those ideas? I'd like to hear some.
Oh, sure. We can take this offline too. I've been wanting to have us have a conversation about how things are going for you guys and do some optimization too. So let's
Yeah.
continue this. But um, other things that we could do would be to go ahead and get feedback from other teammates as well. So our newest feature is called Signals, and it's our survey tool.
Okay.
And the great thing about it is that you can tie recognition to it. So if you want to get feedback from anyone about anything, you can say thank you for participating in it, which is going to incentivize them. It's also going to incentivize more because they'll see that recognition in the feed. So in utilizing this tool, we could go ahead and decide what blockers do we think are in place, how are they affecting our goals, and what do we think would be the best strategy to approach combating these. And that's something that Bonusly does assist with. So myself as a CSM and the other CSMs, we go, let's take a look at your data. And we've got resources and help with building out these plans of actions for increasing participation or focusing on those core values. And so all of that to come back and to say, getting feedback directly from the person. What are you happy or not happy with? What do you feel is being unrecognized or under-recognized? Do you feel connected to your team? Let's start having some conversations around this. Let's talk to the team. How do you work together? How do you interact? Do you have working agreements which are helping everyone know how to communicate with each other in a respectful way that's going to be inclusive of how everyone wants to interact and connect,
Mm.
introvert versus not, really fast thinker versus slow processor. I'm both. So even after we've talked now, hours later, I'm going to have more thoughts I'm going to want to say to you, and we'll probably pick it back up.
Yeah.
But my coworkers being aware of that and giving me that process time,
Hmm.
that's something I would never have learned unless I continued to interact and communicate and talk and build these connections and just to communicate. And I think that's what it comes back to. So if we're not seeing communication, what are the different ways we can learn about what's going on and then make some adjustments so you do feel more connected, more supported, more seen, more appreciated. Yeah.
Speaking of appreciation, what are some best practices or what is some advice that you can give leaders to make sure everyone is being recognized fairly?
Yeah, great question. I think the first thing that you need to do is go ahead and figure out what your core values are, and what they tie back to. So it ties back to what you want to do for your employees, what you want to produce as a product, and what you want to put out into the world. And then how are you going to focus all of those various desires, goals, hopes, and individual contributors towards a common goal? You build core values. And then how do we encourage those core values? It's through recognition, it's through transparency around what our productivity looks like, what are our wins and successes, what are our failures recently,
Hmm.
what are areas that we want to improve as a company or as a department or even a specific workflow, in HR or another department. Um, yeah,
What are
I
some
think you got it.
examples? Yeah, yeah, that was perfect.
Okay.
What are some examples of goals that leaders can have for the incentive program?
Yeah. So goals specifically for the incentive program, I think the number one is typically participation based.
Mm.
They want to see what kind of connectivity they currently have and figure out the areas where they want to improve. And then also start building that feedback loop to decide and figure out, where do we want to put recognition that we don't currently have? And that can be a really wonderful way of encouraging people towards a goal, helping them celebrate it, and then, as I shared, giving more transparency. So, as an example, as a CSM at Bonusly, one of the things I can do is claim an award when I help a new company launch. So, when I helped FCP, I did an acclaimable award, which basically means that they said, tell us a little bit about the company. An admin or not an admin, your manager is going to review, and then
Mm.
if it's filled out properly, you're going to get recognition in the feed about this. So what I do is I write up a little blurb about what the company is excited for with Bonusly, what they do, where they're located, what their core values are, fun facts around that, and then I include that in my piece of response. My manager then reviews it and then adds a comment onto my recognition with that information. So not only am I being recognized for the hard work and like huzzah for hitting that milestone of helping a company successfully launch, but
Mm,
now every single one of my teammates who are not customer facing at Bonusly knows a little bit more about our customers,
right.
knows what they're excited about, what we're working towards. If we always ask for feedback and are constantly providing that to the team so they can understand how we can make it better. So that simple act of recognition for me drives so much internally and provides so much visibility and opportunity for more interactions, connections, and ideas and creativity.
Um, what does your day to day look like when you have a new company that is interested in using Bonusly for a recognition program?
Yeah. So they fall into segments based on size,
Mm,
and if they're with me, I have myself and a counterpart, and then we have other CSMs at higher levels as well. So if someone is introduced to me, they're going to get on a kickoff call with me. We're going to walk through a little bit about them. It's always good to do a few icebreakers. I usually pull my dog up and say, "I apologize ahead of time for her interruptions that are coming." Um,
I remember
and
that.
sorry.
I remember that.
Yep, yep. It's well needed. She's got so many opinions, but I love her. But we meet. We do that initial meet. We talk about what resources we have, how myself and the other Bonusly team is going to support them through the onboarding process. We talk about their goals, and then we start trucking on getting that communication plan set up and getting the account figured out. So, what is our plan for recognition to start versus long-term goals? How are we going to announce? How are we going to provide training? And all of that happens, based on discussions and best practices and resources to, as much as we can, optimize to fit your company culture, your company communication plans, so we can have success with the launch and get people excited about it. And then we meet a few times up till that launch day, and then I meet with them afterwards to talk more about, okay, now that we're starting to get some data out of this, what are our long-term goals? Are there features we will be turning on? And from there on out, it's, checking in to make sure our goals are still up to date year after year, that as new features come through, I'm making sure to help optimize what we have and that, you're aware of everything. And then just provide continued support, and we've got a lot of really awesome resources that aren't even like bonusly focused around HR too that I try to share as they come up.
I see that you send some of the articles to help us organizations with, making sure we're incentivizing correctly, we're getting utilization and stuff. How do you guys prepare for that?
Uh, well, in a in a lot of ways, she said, stating the obvious. So we have a full marketing team, which is amazing,
Mm,
and they're always creating content that, like I said, is not only helpful specifically like towards how to use Bonusly as a tool, but just HR in general.
mm,
Excuse me, and that's something I really love. That the focus isn't necessarily only on the tool, but it's on building a culture around recognition and having recognition be more of an identified aspect of the culture at a team or for a company.
what do you consider a successful launch besides utilization for a company?
Sure. I think that a successful launch is going to be it's going to have great participation right off the bat,
Hmm.
but there's also going to be a lot of excitement around it, and questions are always a good thing. Anytime there are questions, that means we've got interest. So a successful launch is also going to make sure to inform the user of what best practices are, not only with Bonusly, like here's how to make a bonus, here's how to make a great bonus with our tools, with the gifs and the emojis, to link out to different things, different ways you can adjust giving recognition to a group or whatnot. But also, what are the best practices for your team specifically? Do they have a way that you want to structure your recognition because our analytics are pulled in a specific way,
Hmm.
and or do they want you to always make sure to like tag your manager, or for a specific type of recognition tag your manager, different things like that. But how do people feel? Do they feel the buy-in? Are they comfortable with it? The other thing that goes hand in hand with that is also letting them know that it's okay to focus and put time into this. We're wanting you to build this into your workday, and this is an investment of time and effort. So it's okay to have questions when you start. It's okay to not be quite sure, and to see what everyone else is doing, and engage in something new, because usually I don't want to speak for everyone, but I will say personally that I had to get comfortable with giving recognition.
Right.
I had so much to say thank you for, but when I actually sat down and thought about what I wanted to say, it became a, oh man, I can't just say thank you for everything in all caps, and they're going to understand what exactly was valuable to me and why. You put the time and the effort into crafting that. Uh, and then the last part would be how to have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, how is the team going to connect with it? Is it going to be connected to Slack? Are you going to have mobile apps? And how is it going to be utilized? How are we going to celebrate at the company what fun data we're getting out of Bonusly, or sharing stories about what people are doing with their recognition when they redeem? What are you using those points for? Or further customization, like you can put swag. I'm wearing swag now. I didn't get this from Bonusly, but I have redeemed for swag from Bonusly before. So what different things is the company going to offer that you can further connect and engage with?
What are some of the trends you are seeing when it comes to the types of incentives that organizations choose for their employees?
Yeah, so I think that the trend, especially with this last year in consideration, has been really working towards um, autonomy, transparency, and uh, not valuation of goals, but uh, people synthesizing on what is going, like, what do we want to do, what do we want to create, and what are we creating, and is
Mm-hmm.
that where we want to be? So people want to be involved. They want to give their feedback. They're the ones working on these processes, these projects, these tasks every single day. How can are their contributions wanted or encouraged? Uh, as well as, do you feel motivated and connected to your other employees that you're working with, especially being more remote? How is the company helping encourage, not only encourage, but actively push people towards connectivity, because we need to
Mm-hmm.
do that a little bit now with everyone working a little bit more remotely, or that being more of a trend, providing that extra push and incentivizer to get people to communicate and have those social spaces online because we're no longer in an office is also important too.
How has that culture changed for you, or not culture, but dynamic of working from home versus in office, or have you always worked virtually?
Yeah, great question. So I have actually. I worked with one other person out in Seattle from a co-working space for my initial bit, and then moved into working from home basically full time.
Mm-hmm.
And Bonusly has offered and has provided a co-working space to me again since then. But predominantly, I have been a remote worker,
Mm-hmm.
which is it really fits me in that I like to be social, and I like to hop on our daily check-in calls and say hello to my team and have that interaction.
Mm-hmm.
But I also really like to focus.
Right.
So for me, it's just sort of been a continuation of the norm. But I also acknowledge that we have really grown with learning how to communicate with each other and put the time and effort into learning how to communicate because we aren't physically in person.
Mm-hmm.
That our team was giving feedback around, do we want to work in a physical space again? And our response, at least out here in Seattle, was not really. I think we want to meet together once in a while for like the social aspect, but we do our work and we work well together because we've talked about how to work well together remotely.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel so connected to my team even though I barely see them in person. I visited headquarters out in Boulder a few times, and we also have an office in New York, or office location.
Mm-hmm.
Not currently, but maybe they'll get one back again because that group seems to be a little bit more interested in like physically hanging out, compared to the West Coast introverts that I'm a part of.
What advice can you give to employees who don't know how to thank somebody? You had mentioned it earlier, and you said, I want to say thank you for everything, but you wanted to be more specific. How can employees narrow it down?
Yeah. So recognition should be timely, specific, and action oriented. So try not to do it at the end of the month. Try to do it in response to something that has happened recently. Timely, that can be, maybe it's at the end of a project, not at the end of the day, but making sure that it's given at the time it should be given, not as an afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
Though sometimes that can happen, and that's okay. I'm personally, I'll get to the end of the month and go like, all right, who am I forgetting? What did I miss? I know I have more thank yous, and then they come.
Mm-hmm.
But timely, specific, and like product slash activity focused. So, what did you do? How did I see that it helped me? How it helped a customer? How it helped the company? And how does it tie back into our core values and our goals? So, even if it's I had my coworker hopped on a call with me before this meeting so we could play with lighting.
Oh.
Maybe I'll give her a small bonus and say, thank you for giving me that reassurance before I talked to somebody else, and like also make sure that my background looked great or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But tie it back to, thank you for helping me provide a delightful experience and feel good about myself before going into this, exciting interaction with the customer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What advice can you give other employees that work virtually and, like in your situation where most of the time you're working virtually and still stay connected? Like, what advice would you give someone for that?
Yeah, this is twofold, and they really are at the end of the spectrum. I would say force yourself to socialize. Be aware of your limits, um, but it's true. Like I say yes to all of the company hosted events because we have happy hours and other things that go on that are hosted by the HR department, so people can have a little bit of a break and connect with people. And we do, our department once a quarter has an hour where we hang out. Last quarter we made candles, which was really great. They sent candle kits to everyone. But make sure that you are making those connections with your teammate. We are all social creatures. So, in addition to saying thank you, like, are you connecting, and encourage maybe using a communication tool like Slack or MS Teams for your company if that's not in place. We use Slack, we really love it. Something I think that's really helped me connect with all of my teams is the absurd amount of custom emojis that Bonusly has made for Slack. And that's really ridiculous, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there have been trends and ongoing jokes and common joy from that space and the ability to connect like that. Uh, at the same time, knowing when you need to say, I cannot be focused, or I cannot be disturbed right now, I need to focus. I don't have the bandwidth at this time, and being aware of how your personal needs may affect your communication with others, especially when more of our communication is via text, and is more prone to misinterpretation. Um, but honestly, just communication in general. As I mentioned before, we have working agreements. So we have all talked about what is important to us, what we think is important to receive from a teammate, and also what we want to receive in turn. And those, once again, tie back to our core values.
Mm-hmm.
So they're helping us be more productive and successful.
What is some advice you can give to other individuals that want to go through your career path?
Yeah. I the first thing that comes to mind is very specific, maybe to introverts for this kind of role, but uh, be aware of your personal boundaries. You can and work with them. You can stretch them maybe, but what are you comfortable with? Because this is a very highly empathetic, highly engaged role. I am very excited and motivated by what I do too. So I would say if you have a passion for it, just go for it and be a little bit nerdy, be a little bit too enthusiastic, and stumble over your words because you're talking too fast. All the things that I do, um, because because in being in a customer facing role and in a support role and in a success role, uh, balancing the empathy with your joy, because your joy is going to excite others and get them on board too. But also remembering to take care of yourself, especially with working remotely. Putting up the boundaries between your work and your home life are very important.
Mm-hmm.
I say that, and I'm working out of my bedroom. So, but like, there you make the bed in the morning, or you have too many cups of coffee, like go for a walk. What are you going to do to help center yourself so when you are on the clock, when you are helping others, you're able to give them your all?
Um, is there anything else you would like to talk about that we didn't discuss?
Yeah, I wanted to share that we have Bonusly as a platform with over 2,000 companies have donated over $1 million to charity through our donation process. So when we're thinking of what we're putting back out in the world and the good that's there, I think approximately 1 in 20 redemptions of people deciding how to spend their points is them deciding to donate to charity.
Wow.
And something that, yeah, I just, that's, I should just sit in that
That's
for a moment,
awesome.
right?
Yeah.
1 in 20 redemptions, people are saying, I want to give back. And they're doing that with the support and encouragement of their company in a way that is helping them bond and connect as a company
Yeah.
and continue to succeed. So it feels really good. And I'm really happy with that process too, because we have, a default list of donations in our catalog. But we've also, this started off as like a one-off of someone saying, hey, XYZ happened. Can we add a donation option to help with it? And we said yes. And that went from being just a one-off thing to being something that we actively expect to
Hmm.
respond to. So when new customer, not anyone really, writes in and says, I would really like to see an Australian brush fires donation option in there when that was happening. We've had a bunch of those pop up for Beirut assistance as well, or for AAPI. So uh, it's really great that not only are we giving back, but others are still continuously coming to us and saying, we want to share this, we want to provide this, we want to give back. And it had been such a popular request too in general that I made a Help Center article specifically for how to set up as a charity as a custom reward,
Hmm.
because we can't add all of the charities that people write in and ask about, but
Hmm.
maybe you would want as a company to focus or partner with a specific one. I used
Okay.
to work at a company that partnered with St. Jude, and I helped them with their holiday drives. But that would be a great custom reward specifically for that team if that's something that they really like to participate and be a part of too.
I like that. That
Yeah,
definitely gives me a lot of ideas now.
yeah. I would be curious, like off, not right now, but we could of course talk about it right now. I'd be
Right.
interested in talking about like what do you think would be a Minnesota-based or something like what do you think would be best fit for FCP? But that's a little off topic. But
I have to
yeah.
think about that one. That's a good question, but it's definitely giving me ideas.
Well, and you can use signals to ask some of your teammates if you want.
Very true.
Shameless plug.
I have not tried it, but I will be trying it for the quarterly coming up for that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know what kind of questions you have around it. I'm happy to help.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah. I will definitely. I just want to get to this last question before
definitely.
we finish this podcast. How can our audience connect with you if they're interested in learning more about Bonusly and what you do?
Yeah, so they can definitely, of course, reach out. We have demos available. They can go to bonus.ly and sign up or watch one of the ones we have. They can also reach out to support. I started on our support team and continue to help out to this day. We take a lot of pride in providing a delightful experience. So, I would just say reach out and say hi. We also, of course, have, a Twitter, a LinkedIn, and Instagram. And I personally really love the Instagram because we really love animals here at Bonusly. So there's usually a lot of high dog content on there, which and other animals too. But the Bonusly dogs are sort of infamous. So it's a fun way of combining, dogs plus employee engagement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Amber. I really appreciate you taking the time and educating us more a little about Bonusly and an incentive program overall. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, thank you for having me on. This has been a delightful experience and yeah, a lot of fun. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. To learn more, visit fcpservices.com. Until next time, remember, people drive growth.